funding comes strings. So there's certain things we can use federal funding for and certain things we can't. And so our budget office does a very good job of making sure we fit the right category. I want to talk a little bit about the STIP. Kind of shows how this slide kind of shows how we identify, select and prioritize our projects, continuously. We're looking at our roadways. We're out on the ground looking at our roadways, looking at our pavement management system, our safety management system, our bridge management system, and looking at the condition of those roads. Kind of this time frame, we solicit input. We're coming to county commissioner meetings. We've got our STIP out there online that we encourage people to go in and make some comments about it. So we're out there gathering input right now. Staff and myself are out looking at the roads, developing some projects, seeing what our needs are. Here, starting this month, we'll sit down, we'll develop some candidate projects. Does this road need an overlay? Does this road need an overlay? Does this bridge need redone? And we'll sit and we'll take a look at our needs, and we'll look at how much money we have and decide what we can do, what we can't do, our priorities. From there, I guess we'll put together our budgeted STIP. We'll send it down to the Transportation Commission with some explanations of why we're doing what we're doing, along with the federal partners, the FHWA. They will look at it and approve the STIP, and come October 1st, we'll publish that, and then we'll start all over again with evaluating, are we doing the right thing? Because when I say we have a 6-year STIP, just because we program something out 5 years out, doesn't mean, boy, that's when we're going to get to it. It means that's a good placeholder, and we hope to get to it by then. But priorities change as you go through 6 years of a plan, and so it is awfully nimble, I guess. We do quarterly updates, and honestly switch those projects around quite often. So when you go to our website, you will to look at the STIP, you click on the county, and each county starts with a map that'll show you approximate locations of projects, and whether they're coming this year or coming in future years. You see a picture of Natrona County there. Lots of projects, and boy, they do seem centered on Casper, but we do have quite a few out on. We have work at all over the place. Next there, when you're online and looking at the Natrona County STIP or any county, is following the maps, a table of projects. It includes a little more detailed information, what the cost estimate is, what the scope is, and mileposts and all that, and how much money we plan to spend on it. From there, there's a kind of a little summary table of how much money we're spending in that county. As promised, I guess we want some input, and so we have when you log on using that QR code or finding it on our website, there's a map. You can click on any of those balloons. You can zoom in, zoom out, and make a comment on any project, or quite honestly, any road that we don't have a project on. If you feel we're not addressing something that needs addressed, there's a place to make those comments as well. And if you'll log on there and leave some comments, or get a hold of one of us and leave some comments, we'll make sure that those comments get in there and get considered. That's kind of a little bit of a whirlwind view of our process and everything. I did kind of want to take a few minutes and go through projects kind of close to home in Natrona County. Each year we have a bridge management system. We have lots of bridges that with salt sand and everything like that are we've been seeing a lot of deterioration. We're starting to get caught up. You guys have probably seen lots of bridge rehab jobs where we're doing a deck overlay or replacing a deck. And boy, it's painful, but we're getting a lot of work done. We're getting caught up a little bit on our bridge rehabs, but every year, we go district-wide and we do a big bridge rehab project. And so, 2026, we're doing 4 bridges, 28, we're doing 9 bridges. And so just over the 6-year step, we're gonna be rehabbing 32 bridges. Also included, I guess, switch slides here. We take a certain amount of those federal funds and we leverage them to do some contract maintenance work. We'll do a district-wide patching job, a district-wide chip seal job where we go and do some timely maintenance on these highways. We've started doing a lot of scrub seals, some culvert lining projects, sign upgrades. So we'll leverage those federal dollars to get some of our maintenance done. Now, getting to our specific projects that you guys might be interested in, 2026. Probably you guys are probably tired of this, but we're going to try to finish the Casper Marginal, the section through town. We rebuilt the Walsh Drive bridge and that section, and we did the river bridges up by Poplar, and we're going to tackle the middle section. It should be much less impactful than when we replaced the 5 bridges on this last section. We're replacing the McKinley Street interchange, but other than that, mainly be concrete paving, and we're hoping that will be less headache than for the traveling public than we've seen through the last project. Also, next year we hope to do Poplar Street, the last little section there between CY and, I don't want to say last section, but the section there between CY and Collins Drive. We've got a nice, huge storm sewer system up at CY and Wyoming Boulevard, and we've got our CY and Poplar, and we got a big, we just finished putting in a big storm sewer system down below, and in between, that's kind of what's driving this is kind of our storm sewer. We've had lots of sinkholes, we've had lots of problems through that section, and so this will allow us to get that stormwater control in there. And I think we're supposed to open bids, Mark, in and open bids again. We did try it one time and it was a little too expensive. We reevaluated our project, changed a couple of things, and hopefully we can afford it this time. 2027, I guess, a little project. We're doing a stock pass up north on the interstate. Walking through that stock pass, it just looked like it was about to fall in, and so I think we're going to be there just in time. I hope. Also in 2027, we were going to tackle another section of Wyoming Boulevard, the part from the Mountain Road to 215th. A much needed pavement overlay. The idea, it's a little bit of a preservation project. We want to keep good roads good. A timely overlay right now will protect our investment. Also, I threw this slide in there. We're doing a project under that BROS program. We're doing a county bridge out on over Badwater Creek. I believe that's set for 2027 as part of the BROS program. I think we're still on track to put box culverts in there. But that's our hope. Change that from a bridge to a box culvert. And this is the one in 2027 I'm happy about. We've been talking about the Manita Divide field out there for years and years. And as that gas becomes more marketable, we'll see lots more impact to that highway from between here and Shoshone. this coupled with a job in our District 5, will finish up the passing lanes on that section of road. You know, much safer, much more comfortable to drive between here and Shoshone. You know, if you get behind somebody, you don't have to wait for 100 miles to get around type thing. And that's part of that, we talked a little bit about that increased funding from the vehicle sales tax. And that's what enabled us to do this project. Also, we were gonna tackle kind of a pavement preservation project out on Hat 6 Road. We'll be doing a hot in place recycle deal. We've done a few of these around the state. Kind of a big train that comes in, it chews up the existing asphalt, adds some more oil and additives to it, and puts it back down, and hopefully we'll get another 20, 30 years out of that thing. I think our, you know, it's more of a pavement preservation project, but I know our maintenance folks are out there doing some widening so we can recycle as wide as we can. '28, we have another section of 220 out there. Again, pavement preservation project, kind of out there in the Independence Rock area. Also programmed in 2028, we have a rehab on First Street here in town. That concrete pavement is showing its age a little bit. And so we wanted to go in there and rehab that. And I think our rehab strategy is kind of making a mill down and put a pavement inlay in there with some reinforced asphalt paving. And we'll redo, I think, some of the intersections in concrete, but just kind of a rehab project. 2029, another county bridge out there on Grays Reef Road, Hawkback Draw. I think that's planned for 2029. I think you mentioned that there's a bridge you can see in the distance there as well, and that one will be done for the federal land. But also, that seems to be our year for bridges, county bridges as well, because we're doing a bridge out there on 33 Mile Road over the Powder River. This is one of those, part of the BFP program where I don't think the county has any matching funds in it. It's just some, the federal money that came down for bridges. YDOT dedicated some of that to the local governments, and really just kind of replacing it in kind. But the bridge rating on that existing bridge was low enough that it qualified for that program. So 2030, you know, said we're going to finish up the Casper Marginal. This is beyond Casper a little bit, out just east of Evansville there, south. We call it Casper South because I-25 runs north-south, but just east of Casper. We'll just be doing another little pavement preservation project, just a little mill and fill, mill and overlay type thing. Also in 2030, we wanted to tackle a piece of Wyoming Boulevard from Mills, but from CY and Wyoming Boulevard up to the mountain road. That section there hasn't been touched in, I'm going to say, 20, 25 years. With that, that's what we have coming in Natrona County. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about, you know, one of the reasons we're here is to get a little input, I guess. Where do we go from here? What needs are we not catching? You know, what are we missing or unaware of? We have lots of needs. We're trying to hit the high priority ones, but you feel free to log on and mention in our STIP, or if you have a development that maybe we're unaware of that we need to look at the traffic impacts for, or something like that. If you know of anything going on that maybe we wouldn't be aware of, we'd appreciate knowing. With that being said, we do have a good relationship with the planning department. We get notified of, boy, I think maybe everything that's, at least has been submitted to you guys. But if there's something we're missing or unaware of, or we'd sure appreciate you guys letting us know.
Commissioner North.
Right now, we're kind of looking at capacity on Wyoming Boulevard. I mean, I'd like to make that, that last section there, but from the Mountain Road to 15th, I'd like to see that be a 4 or 5 lane. It's coming, it's needed. We need to, Wyoming 487, we'd love to have enough funding to go out there and address that roller coaster we have out there. It's an expensive fix. I mean, it's more of a geology problem than a pavement problem. And so the scope of that job would be a little, right now we can't fit it in our program, but I guess that's on our radar, that's on our wish list. And of course, Casper Mountain Road. I think we've got some small maintenance stuff planned up there, some rock scaling to make it a little safer and some things like that. But that's one of those big jobs that it's on our radar. We realize we have some needs, but it just doesn't fit in our budget or our plan right now. I want to talk a lot about, local agencies and some funding programs. It highlights transit there, but also we have lots of different grant programs with local communities. And feel free to log on there and see if there's some aeronautics grants or local government grants that might fit your needs. We did check and make sure that QR code works. So, next step, I guess, we're hoping for your input, I guess. Feel free to log on, review our draft STIP a little bit, look at what projects we've got going on, look through your packet here. If some of those, I guess we'd love to do more on the scope, but a lot of them are just, pavement preservation projects. We'd love to widen some roads, but right now we're just trying to hold together what we have as far as the pavement. We'd love to be able to put nice 6-foot shoulders on every road, but some of them, our budget just won't allow that. So log on there, see what you think. If you want to make a comment on a project, make a comment on a project. If you want to make a comment on a piece of road we don't have, there's that opportunity as well. Or feel free to talk to us or some of our staff in Cheyenne. I mean, we're always willing to listen, open door. I mean, I did want to give your planning department kudos about keeping us in the loop on different developments and impacts. So I do appreciate that. But if there's something you have a question about, or you feel that we're not addressing well enough, give me a call. Give us a call, and we'll at least talk about it. But that being said, I think, man, that's what I had to talk about our STIP today. But I'm open for any input or any questions.
There's a couple questions. Commissioner North.
Number one, thanks for coming in today. It's always nice to be updated on everything that's going on around the county and what you guys have in store for us in the future.
Well, yeah, I apologize ahead of time for the construction on the interstate. But.
Well, that's all right. We've known about that for a little while. So one question that we've had, that I've had several calls on, and I've talked to Mike a little bit about this too, is the bridge out at Natrona going south.
Yep.
That is one that's kind of there's a lot of people down there that are concerned about that, as far as upgrading it, and whether that means putting box culverts in there, taking the bridge out completely and putting box culverts in, or something else that would be beneficial. But that's one area that I know and I know there's other bridges that have just recently been identified, and
The one out by Midwest.
yes, and-
Edgerton.
yeah. So, but that is one out there that I know I've had several phone calls about, and I know that's been something that's been brought up in the past. So,
And we do have that off-system bridge program that's funded throughout the state. You know, each county gets an allotment, and I think we're in the process of designing and completing a couple of those bridges. My concern is that we throw that in that program, and boy, it can take years for it to actually come to fruition with the funding there. And so I talked with Mike a little bit out in the hallway. Let me see what options we have. Let me visit with our bridge guys in Cheyenne. I know, you know, if nothing else, maybe a little more bridge engineer type discussion with our bridge folks in Cheyenne, and see if they have some recommendations. I personally, I like the idea of the box culverts. You know, you don't have to do yearly inspections on them. They're buried a little bit, a lot less maintenance than you know, a standard bridge. And so, you know, that and the one up there just out of Edgerton, both of them to me scream, let's put a box culvert in there, you know, quick, easy. You get them from the fabricator and you bury them and you're done.
Yep.
Almost. That's oversimplifying it a little bit.
well, you don't have to convince me of it because I am a fan of them. You know, if they'll work, I'm definitely a fan of them. They're not good for everywhere, but where they are good for, they do a really good job.
Yes, and much less worry in the future as
Yep.
well. So, no, I will, let me follow up and get with you guys and Mike about, you know, maybe some good advice from our bridge folks and maybe some other funding opportunities.
Appreciate it.
Commissioner Laird.
Just a quick question you may have already answered a few times, but what's the status of that bridge on Poplar Street that goes over the river before you get to First Street?
Well, I did not mention that, so good question, and I appreciate that. You know, it was supposed to be part of this last Poplar Street project, and when the bids came in, it was, I want to say in the 60 million range, and the way the bridge was designed and getting down in that contaminated soil, it was just a little beyond our budget, and so we took a step back. We're doing I think it was over-designed. I think we had, you know, a 7-lane wide bridge. The bridge was wider than it was long, and we had dual left turn lanes, plus a right turn decel lane, plus a receiving lane, in addition to the 5 lanes that were there. And so we were taken with the West Belt Loop in place. I don't think we need a bridge that big. We're taking a look at that, and I would like to maybe move forward with kind of a design build thing, get it funded. I think there's some bridge design elements with using drilled shafts instead of driven piles and pile caps beneath the river and all that would allow us to mitigate most getting down into that contaminated soil. So we're a little bit back to the drawing board on it. It's still on our radar. I'd like to do that as just thinking out loud here, one of our design build projects. You know, we just passed legislation that we're allowed to do that, the design build process, and I'd like to utilize that to get that back in our program. So we're waiting on a traffic study to decide how big a bridge do we really need, and from there go after some funding and maybe some grants or something like that to get that bridge built, because it's the one piece in there that's missing, that in the First and Poplar intersection.
Is it safe?
It's safe. That bridge is, boy, we put a new deck on it in 2009. And, you know, it's totally safe. The only thing is, well, there's no pedestrian facilities on it, and there's not a center left turn lane, so it makes that intersection awfully inefficient when we have to split phase and let northbound go and then let southbound go. I guess it would improve the efficiency of that intersection quite a bit if we had some left turn storage on the bridge. So it's not the condition of the bridge so much as the inefficiencies it's causing with the intersection.
Thank you very much, and thank you for coming in as well.
Commissioner Clayson.
Good afternoon. I think that Poplar Street segment is important for our community, including the pedestrian element of it. I also have heard, and I travel it regularly, that Wyoming Boulevard segment from Casper Mountain Road east to 15th Street, and you've acknowledged today that I think that expansion is warranted from a traffic count perspective. I also think there are some safety issues there that maybe ought to prioritize it for YDOT. And one specific point on that is the misalignment, and I know this isn't YDOT's fault at all, but the Country Club crossing right there. I don't think the county was involved in it. At least it wasn't since I've been a commissioner. But in any event, when they put in that new development, there's a pretty significant misalignment, and I'm sure that your engineers will try to figure out a way to solve or to work on that problem as well. But what would the time frame be for that segment of widening or adding lanes to that Wyoming Boulevard segment?
Well, and we're currently a little bit in a pavement preservation deal. We're going to do a little pavement preservation project there, kind of mill and overlay. As far as the widening and making that into a 5-lane section, we haven't got that fit in our 6-year budget yet. That being said, we've got that extra funding starting in 2027, and my hope is that project is on a list that I mentioned, a wish list, that what projects other than pavement preservation do we want to tackle, and so that's up there, and it's a high priority for the district here, just because it's needed capacity wise. I mean, the speed limit's 60 through there. We could talk about whether that's a safety element or not, but boy, oftentimes we don't see free traffic flow through there, and so we'd welcome an opportunity to get that widening done, maybe a continuous left turn lane all the way down through there, if needed, I guess. So I'm going to have to say probably in the 6-7 year time frame, if we can get it funded.
Any further questions? Well, thank you and your staff for coming.
Sure.
I do have a question, a little bit, or just a little concern myself. It's again on the west bypass. I'm going to beat on that drum again, the speed limit. But it's coming down through Mills to that new Circle D or the Big D or whatever that new gas station is.
Right.
And trying to come off onto that road, onto the bypass going toward the light or intersection or cutting across to go south. Man, them trucks just come whipping down that hill. So I don't know if you want to reevaluate the speed limit a little bit.
Well, I know we're keeping an eye on that. I guess
There
I think
is. Okay.
the speed limit is up at the top of that hill.
45,
I want to say
I
we
believe, at
drop it
this
to
point.
40 at the top of the hill,
Yeah.
and a little timely enforcement might help. And so we're trying to work that angle a little bit too. We put the speed limit 40 sign there, and we're not getting good compliance with that. So what I'm guessing is any speed limit sign we put up there, we're not going to get good compliance with.
No.
And so maybe a little bit more of an enforcement issue and a driver behavior issue that maybe we're looking at, but it is a little bit on our radar, especially with the traffic that's exiting that new Big D.
Do you maybe a flashing light on with
Flashing
the,
beacon?
yeah, with the speed limit sign maybe?
Yeah, I know we've, I know we've looked at that a little bit. I can't tell you where we're at, whether we put one there. We have, those flashing beacons are good, especially for unfamiliar motorists, people coming from out of town, truck drivers, things like that. Local traffic, locals, it just, once they've seen it 10 times, it blends into the background. So I guess, I think we're still evaluating a flashing beacon on that speed limit sign, but let me our traffic engineers back there, and we'll take a look at that again.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I noticed that train come out there the other day. I was like, oh, myself, Mr. Nick Leeson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One other item that comes to mind based upon conversations that we've been having with a company called Prometheus, which is considering the construction of a data center on the Natrona Converse County line. It would be just south of I-25, primarily to be constructed in Converse County. There is an overpass there currently.
Right.
The short-term and long-term hope is that they can access their data center site via that overpass and have a temporary on-off on I-25. And I know that I think it was in the Hackalo pit was being mined or in operation, and then there's that stockpile yard on the northeast corner of where that intersection is. How difficult do you think it would be for that developer to get approval both for temporary construction basis and then construct or finish an on-off, permanent on-off using that overhead?
Well, not undoable, I guess. Anytime there's an interchange, we have to do a interchange justification study and report with the Federal Highway Administration. They funded the interstate system, and so we have to get their buy-in. But if the traffic numbers are there, I believe we can get through that. We just very recently we went through that with West Winds interchange. We that new interchange, and so it's not undoable. The demand has to be there, and so I would say that we go through some traffic impact studies. Temporary interchange for construction, I guess, seems like, boy, that's something we could maybe justify, because construction is going to be the big impact, right? And when there's once it's up and running, I don't know how many employees one of those places have. Do they have 50 long-term employees, permanent employees, or do they have hundreds? And so we'd want to sit down, take a look at that, and see if we could justify a permanent interchange there.
From my perspective, I think there are challenges for the people that live in what's called the big muddy estates area, the Meadow Acres area, which is in Natrona County, and then in Glen Rock, if people are having to come through Glen Rock or through Evansville. And there's a lot of traffic first thing in the morning and last thing in the evening.
Right.
And I think that where the existing road comes on to that the Glen Rock Highway, it's not ideal because of some sight distance issues that I'm not the traffic expert, but that I think are there. So that's why I think I've been encouraging that developer to pursue both the temporary and a long-term solution using I-25 rather than the Glen Rock Highway.
And the temporary interchange there, we've had one there before when we had the stockpile site there, and it functioned fairly well. But when we were finished up with that stockpile site, we ended up removing it, and so it's definitely doable. It's feasible, I guess. It's just a heavy lift to make sure it's justified, and we can get that justified with the Federal Highway Administration. It's all due to traffic demand, and so it's kind of a process, a long process to get the Fed's approval and to get all the I's dotted, T's crossed with those folks, but it's doable.
What's a long process?
Oh, yeah, boy, I'm trying to remember on the West Winds interchange. You remember, Chad? Is that a 5-year process? Well, from inception to maybe construction, maybe a 5-year process. a temporary interchange, you know, if we started with that, I mean, that's, if the traffic number, if the traffic impact study justified that, I would imagine within a year or two, we could get something temporary approved. But correct, and it's not like we have a spacing problem. Boy, it's quite a few miles between interchanges out there. And so that may benefit us a little bit, or the developer a little bit too, so.
All right, thank you.
I got one. I got
Now time, Dave, we're really.
this is going to be really quick. It's going to be on the what Commissioner Milne brought up. I would appreciate if you guys would extend that speed limit out past Robertson Road and reduce it at Robertson Road coming in and going out. Basically for the same reasons. That keeps that truck traffic from speeding up when they're going over, makes it a whole lot safer for the people trying to cross at Robertson Road, and it'll also slow those trucks down before they get to that hill, before they come over the top. So that's basically it. So
Very good. I'll give you the standard answer that we'll evaluate it a little bit, Dave.
yeah, okay, yeah. Appreciate that.
Again, thank you all for coming in. Appreciate it, sir.
Yes, thank you, guys.
All right, next we'll have Porter Muirhead for an update and review on financial compliance report.
There we go. Thank you, Commission, for having us here today to speak on the financials and present them to you guys with the audit report. I'll do a quick introduction here. So Seth Corson, I was the audit manager on the job, and then Alexander has been the shareholder for the last few years on the audit job. Not with us today is what we refer to as our in-charge, but Brian Peterson, you guys are probably familiar with him. He's worked on the county audit for many years, very familiar with the staff. He had some commitments with his children this evening, so he was not able to be with us. But like I said, just mention him for all his work he did with our audit. So I do want to give a big thanks to Tracy, Heather, and Nick, and everyone involved in the audit process. I'll kind of start with a quick summary of what our audit process looks like. But those guys specifically and all the departments involved, it's kind of a heavy lift when it comes to getting through the audit. So a big thank you to you guys for all the work you put in when we get into that. So as you guys are familiar, each year we go through the audit starting after the end of June. We do some small procedures, usually before the end of the year, just planning wise, getting engagement letters out, coordinating, request list items that we'll need. And then we kind of dive right into June and July. We look primarily at like the federal awards, do a single audit portion, and then about 3 to 4 months after year end is when kind of most of the numbers are finalized and we can get right into the big financial statement audit process and single audit process, start getting schedules and stuff from all the staff and working through that. We usually spend about a week or two here at the county office, flipping through paperwork on items that we test and things like that, and then go back through a review stage and get to the end of the audit there. So that's kind of, like I said, a brief overview of the audit, what it looks like. Counties specifically are very large entities within the state, many moving parts with, different component units that are included in the audit, including the airport as one, many different departments. And so it's kind of a big group effort to get all that information put together. So with that, you guys should be in receipt of a copy of the final audit, a final communication letter, and then what we refer to as like a management advice and suggestion letter. And I'll go through each one of those here shortly. So to start with, in the audit itself, your opening page is our auditor's report. That's kind of our opinion. The important part there is we're looking for an unmodified or a clean opinion. What that means is we're able to gather information or get answers to our questions to really allow us to issue an opinion on the financial statements and how they're presented. So that's page 1 of the audit report following your table of contents. One thing I want to point out this year specifically in that audit report is as years go through, if there's items that are included in the financial statements that we consider from an auditor's perspective kind of warrant the attention of the reader, we really point that out with what we call an emphasis of matter paragraph. So you'll see that in the beginning there, the bottom paragraph is called the emphasis of matter for a change in accounting principle. As auditing in the accounting standards come out, there's changes that have to be made for how things are presented in the financial. In the current year, the big one is the government accounting standards issued changes to how compensated absences are calculated. If you guys are familiar historically with how those are presented, was more of a payout perspective with how those were calculated and presented in the financials. Meaning, as an example, if someone was here greater than 10 years, they were eligible for a third of their, outstanding leave time. We would do that calculation and present that. In the last couple years, that was kind of reevaluated by the government accounting standards boards for how that was calculated. They really felt like there was a larger portion of a liability there because, as we're aware, employees take that time off as sick leave or vacation leave and things like that. So there's a cost borne by the county for that in terms of either replacement wages, salary, replacement wages, overtime, things like that as other people fill those positions. So that's the big one this year. So if you were to flip through, and it refers to it there in the auditor's report, but then flip to should be page 58, note 7, kind of shows you what that restatement was. You can see it was a big number, amounted to about $1 million. Not too unexpected for the county with the, the count of employees that you guys have, and, the long-standing time of service that they have with their sick leave balances would have been built up on. So kind of the methodology to get through that, we kind of worked specifically with like Nick in each department, is get what employees' leave balances were, kind of do a calculation of what we expect them to use as wages just from what they would have earned maybe from the day they started with the county to what they have outstanding now, and kind of come up with an estimated percent. It is an estimate. I will point to that. It's not an exact liability. It's kind of an estimate of what we think could be incurred by the county in the future. And it's kind of a rolling estimate at that, because as people, use down that leave, they also earn leave. And so it's kind of a rolling component. But in the year of implementation here, it kind of bumped that number up pretty soon.
Jump in for just a second. So just so commissioners understand, this amount includes some portion that the employees will be paid as salary, and has always been paid as salary, but because employees have earned and they are going to be using that the following year, they at the same time they earn that amount, but at the time at the end of the year and then going towards maybe middle of the year, they will more than likely use the balances that they have had accumulated. And then there is also an estimated amount how much would be paid out if the employees, let's say, were terminated. So, and the biggest part is that in the past, sick leave was really kind of not included in that calculation. That's what really makes up a bigger number, just to kind of add up, sorry.
Right, no, you're good. Yeah, so just to point that out specifically, obviously it's in the accountant's report as an emphasis of matter. Big number there for a restatement of that presentation in the financials. So without going through everything else in detail from there, I would ask you to flip to page 123. It's kind of a summary of our audit results. Alexander likes to refer to it as the report card. So it starts with what, I just mentioned with that first accountant's report, mentioning that it's an unmodified opinion, which is good. If there was ever an instance where we weren't able to gather information or get answers to our questions, essentially we would have to disclaim or not say that we could even adequately audit it. The county got a clean opinion on that, so that's good. With county audits and government audits specifically, there's actually 3 reports that get issued. The first one being that accountant's report on the financial statements, then being a governmental entity, we issue a report on internal control over financial reporting. And then the third is kind of a report on federal awards and internal control over compliance for federal awards. So I will speak briefly to that second report here. You can see kind of in that report card when it mentions, material weaknesses identified. So areas of significance that we say, could materially mistake the financials just through processes and how they're calculated or controls over them. In the current year, we had 2 items we noted in there. They specifically relate to what we refer to as like the custodial fund or amounts held for other taxing agencies. We just took a really closer look at that this year, as the county is, the taxing authority for many entities here within the county. It's important that that piece be kind of nailed down, I guess, in our opinion, and working through it. We found certain items related to like sales tax that's remitted monthly that I worked through with Heather. As we worked through the audit, she was able to get corrected with the state. But for fiscal year 25, there was some differences in what was calculated for due to versus what was being remitted. And then the second one there, again, relates to the same thing, but as those items are collected, state statutes dictate when those things should be distributed. As we looked at the big dollar amounts for things that are collected that could be due to other entities, the ones that we tested specifically were mobile machinery and apportioned fees, and there wasn't a lot of clarity on when those should be distributed. They were following like a motor vehicle type distribution schedule, and in the state statutes that is written that it can be after the new levy is set. So essentially you hold the money for motor vehicles that are collected in the first 9 to 10 months, set the new levy, and then determine what that should be distributed, which is the process that the county follows. These were distributed a little bit after that time frame and only once in the fiscal year. So we asked and put that here in this finding that be reviewed more specifically, just to ensure that compliance for that distribution.
And that particular statute is sort of subject to, could be subject to interpretation. The county here has always followed the rule that that motor vehicle is supposed to be distributed based on the levy that's in place at the time. So when collections that happen in January, there is really no levy, so to speak, because that levy is going to be set in August. Now, other counties interpret there is a levy. We are distributing that according to the levy that's in place at the time. So there are some counties that do just like Natrona County has done for years. There are other counties that basically, this is the levy, we are distributing that month, and we just gonna go forward. So, which I guess without any specific clarification in the statute, that's the county's process, that's how it's been distributed. But I think even that, there were some latenesses that Seth was explaining.
Right. So that's kind of a quick overview of the financial statement component specifically. So back to that report card on page 123, the second major component of the audit that the county undergoes is the audit of the federal awards. As that process is driven, the Office of Management Bureau from the federal government offers or sends out the compliance supplement every year. We follow that process. Essentially, it dictates a selection criteria for all the federal awards received by the county based on certain thresholds and a calculation of which ones we have to test, and then past history or experience with those federal awards. So there was actually 3 major programs that the county had to test in the current year, or we had to test for the county. The big one, which is probably no surprise, is the COVID money related specifically to the health department. I believe off the top of my head, there's $15 to $18 million spent last fiscal year on that specifically. And that would show, the state and local fiscal recovery money. So again, they're in your schedule of expenditures of federal awards. About $17 million.
Page 113.
Page 113, yeah. So then the other two programs that were required to be tested, and again, this is based on thresholds that the Office of Management Bureau sets, was the health care for the homeless and the community service block grant, both administered at the Community Action Partnership. Those were tested as major programs in the prior year. I will kind of give a kudos to the CAP that in the prior year they had an accounting system transition. There was a lot of work and discrepancies we had noted in that in the prior year. That was pretty clean this year. So back to the state and local. That's what I was going to go into. So to that state and local fiscal recovery funds, there was, a finding on that specifically, only what we would call a significant deficiency. So not as significant as the material weakness. As we did the testing and we look at payments to contractors, which includes engineers, there was missing documentation on procurement, suspension, and debarment to determine that payments to those individuals they themselves weren't suspended or debarred. In experience with this, there's engineers involved with some of that early onset process as the plans are getting drawn up, the grants getting written and applied for, and things like that. This wasn't the big dollar. This wasn't the big payment to Sampson. That contract specifically included that verbiage for suspension and debarment. The three methods essentially you can achieve this is do what they call a SAM search, verifying that the person you're paying isn't suspended or debarred, get a certification from them, or include the clause in their contract. And outside of the one engineer that was involved kind of at the early onset of that stage, is that was included. But something to be aware of, as you pursue or get involved in other big construction contracts, ensure that process is adhered to. The county does have a written procurement policy that does dictate that. So, so that threshold that I mentioned for selecting those major programs currently is set at $750,000. That warrants having to have that compliance audit. It's actually going up to $1 million. For the county, the implications that would have is the selection of the programs, because that drives what they call a type A program. Obviously, the county's not going to expend less than $1 million in federal awards. There is some entities that kind of sit on that threshold. It gives them that benefit, but for the county, it could change the major programs required to be tested. So that's kind of a quick overview. The accountant's reports, the financial statements, and the changes here in the current year. I did mention that you guys should be in receipt of that final communication letter. Kind of just reiterates what I would have just discussed over that. What we would consider significant estimates, risks that we consider as we go in through the audit. And if there was modifications to that audit report, like I mentioned for that, new government standards. So that's like I said, the financial statements kind of in brief, and the accountant's reports and the audits. So we did include, so outside of what we call findings for those material weaknesses and significant deficiencies, we do issue this what we call management comment letter every year. This is items that we say bring attention to management to better improve processes and controls. It's not matters that we considered were findings, material weaknesses, and significant deficiencies, but areas to keep a focus on. So there is a few matters noted in there, just in details and some tracking. And I have had conversations with the individuals in each department that these are associated with, such as, Nick with the finance office, your certified assessment with your assessors, clerk of district court, and the treasurer. So,
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I will note that I was not named in that letter. Thank you.
Tracy does a very good job of staying out of that. And some of these things, are things that I'll use, like the clerk of district court one as an example with outstanding checks. They collect money, historically have collected monies under the child support program, which is other people's monies. And as those were dispersed with checks, those checks could go in cash. They could be for small dollar amounts. Individuals that received them could throw them away. Well, now the clerk of district court has this bank account with outstanding checks. And short of going through like an unclaimed property process with the state, can't really clear them from their books. And so it's common actually across not just clerk of district courts. You'll see it with like inmate funds and things like that. And so again, had the conversation specifically with Jill, that it's just a recommendation from the auditors. We look at those things to continually figure out how to refine that or clear those items. I think everyone's probably familiar in today's world that as monies are dispersed to people either through child support, inmates, even like tax returns now, it's happening via like debit card processes, essentially so governments don't fall into this boat where you have these cash accounts where you have large outstanding checks to individuals that you can't really track down and could be 15, 20, 30 years old. So that's kind of what we have. If you guys have any questions for us in the process or
Any questions? Lots of information.
there it is. A very large audit report, and as I mentioned earlier, counties are very unique in their many moving parts, their many departments. So I'm not sure where we came out with total pages in the current year for this audit report, but I know it's over 100.
Yes,
So,
a lot of pages, for sure.
Commissioner Alert?
I'm looking at, page number. It says distributions required by the state statutes were not made by the treasurer's office within the required time frame. Could you elaborate on that?
for sure. So that was one of the financial statement matters that we noted. Can you point me to the page that you were looking at specifically?
It's a Tracy Good at the
the-
end.
First one, it looks like first one at the back, just past the federal award findings.
Okay, so yeah, so you're looking at what we call the summary schedule of prior audit findings and then the corrective action plan, which is kind of a duplicate then of the financial statement findings that I mentioned earlier. So that required distributions to other taxing authorities, that goes back specifically to that mobile machinery and that apportioned fees that appear to follow distributions in line with like a motor vehicle process, but they were made quite a bit later, I believe like in the March timeframe when we did our testing. Whereas, mobile machinery is distributed out to the taxing authorities, usually after that levy's set in, September, October, probably. So, we had conversations and asked specifically to Tom what his basis or guidance was in that. We didn't get a straight answer, which is what drove it to becoming this, financial statement finding. I have had the conversation with Heather, she's, I believe, starting to take on some of those responsibilities and look at that specifically for when it's required to be distributed and make sure that it's in compliance with state statutes. To speak more clearly to it, as we test that and we go to the state statutes for the mobile machinery and the collection of that tax, it says in a manner similar to property taxes, distributed in a manner similar to property taxes. So that's where we fell back to that looking at it the same as motor vehicle.
When you say this finding has been corrected, what does that mean? How did they correct it? The one on the amounts distributed to a taxing authority were in excess of amounts collected on behalf of the taxing authority at the time of distribution.
Okay, so this is the
Corrected. Explain that to me, would you?
Yep. So now, as I had mentioned, like that finding that I just mentioned in the current year, we have a follow-up process that we're required to look at in the year after. So this one you're looking at here is actually the summary schedule of prior audit findings. That number one was distributions to other taxing authorities. I believe that last year there was 2 months had accidentally gotten distributed to the Casper College BOSI's program, I
It was
believe.
Casper College, and also I think there were, as commissioners are aware, that now Department of Revenue collects the mineral taxes, and then they need to be distributed to other taxing entities. And I think some, because I think of the contango issue, I think they were distributed later. So there was some lag, and that was the finding from the year before. This year, the finding is in a similar level, but not the same. So that's why it kind of seems like it's same, but different, kind of.
Right. Yeah. I would say there's just, 2 years ago with that contango issue with the change in the state for the mineral collection process, and then the many different types of taxes that are collected, they sound related, but they kind of have different specifics to them.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think last year was like they were distributed. Collections happened like in maybe October, November, December, maybe January, but the distributions didn't happen, I think, March, I think. I don't exactly.
That was the
know the dates.
contango issue specifically, which is the number 3, actually. We mentioned that one being repeated because there was still that delay for the apportioned fees. But the item number 1 related to there was 2 months distributed to the Casper College that, like I said, when we test in the current year, so we look at and say, okay, here's show us your distributions to the Casper College in the current year, making sure there wasn't, 2 distributions in 1 month. They agreed to the amounts collected that are required to be distributed to them. And that's where we note then that finding has been corrected because we didn't see those issues in the
I
current year.
think they also might have been over-distributed, I think, a year before. So it's like a similar issue, but not the same.
Okay.
And I think that's why I was just mentioning earlier that some other counties, they have decided that, we're going to follow a statute. We have to pay all the school districts by the 11th of, we collected in June. We pay them by July 11th. They just distribute pretty much everything on that day, all the collections. And in this way, there is no kind of lagging. Some are distributed one way, some are the other way.
Okay. Well, we really do appreciate all your hard work and appreciate you coming and talking to us. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
We're on a little behind, not too
Yes,
bad.
yes. Thank you
Good.
very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Yep.
Any questions, please call us.
We will. Thank you. Alrighty, Joan and Troy. When you want to come up first or both at the same time, or how do you want to do this? All right. Okay. You getting your private pilot license or what? Oh, okay. Good. Nice. Maybe the weather comes in.
Yeah, well, it was actually snowing in Cheyenne this morning.
Yeah, I saw that
It's nice to get up here where it's sunny.
for a little bit.
Suntan weather outside.
All right, what you got for us?
Yeah, good afternoon, commissioners. Jonah and I did speak. I think, I know we're a little short on time, so we'll try to keep this quicker than it was last time. I'm going to touch on the economic component and then go over the baskets of investments that you have with us, and then Joan's going to touch on just her part of the investments as well. In your packet, I did provide you guys an economic update. I'm going to touch on just a few parts of that, but leave a lot of that there for you just to review if you need some material to put you to sleep tonight or whatever. Generally speaking, in terms of the economy right now, the economy still seems to be pretty resilient. We're still adding jobs. The economy is still growing. Last quarter, GDP just came out a couple of weeks ago. It came in at 1.4% growth. So while the GDP growth has been slowing, we still are growing. Unemployment also came out at, we had 4.3% unemployment, but we added 130,000 jobs in the month of January. The February numbers come out this Friday. They always come out the first Friday of the month. Expected job numbers were actually 55,000 jobs across the board, but we added 130,000. So that actually exceeded expectations. As it is with everything in the economy right now, there's always uncertainty. And so some of what we're sharing with you is changing as we go. Obviously, some stuff transpired over the weekend with respect to Iran. The Supreme Court changed the narrative a little bit with their determination on tariffs. So everything is subject to change. Please keep that in mind as we talk about this. There is a division within the Fed, basically. There's some Federal Reserve members that think that we should keep rates where they are, and there's some Federal Reserve members that think we should continue to make cuts. I believe it's on page 5. Yes, page 5 of your economic report. You'll see a dot plot there. It's a little black graph with some yellow dots. We call that the dot plot, the FOMC dot plot. So each of those yellow dots represents members of the Federal Reserve. And as you see, it's going out, it's forecasting into the future, and where those Federal Reserve members believe that interest rates should be going forward. As you can see, there's quite a bit of variance there among the Federal Reserve members. There's not consensus. But if you average that out over time, going into the end of the year, you'll see that they expect the Fed funds rate to be just north of 3%, Right now, we are in the range of 3.5 to 3.75%. So we don't foresee any cuts in interest rates till June, potentially July. That's what the markets are indicating right now. But through the end of the year, we're looking at maybe no more than 2 cuts. Again, that is subject to change with all the craziness going on in the world, but still staying north of 3%. As I said, the labor market is weakening some, but we are still adding jobs. And overall, the economy is doing relatively well. So I will get into real quick, and happy to answer any questions at any point as well. I'll get into real quick where we are in your investments. As you guys are aware, I represent Peaks Investment Management and Wyoming Class. So we have a couple different pools of money. So I'm going to touch on the one that we talk about a lot, and then Joan will speak on this as well, your hospital funds. And Commissioner Milne, I know that we had shared some communication a couple weeks ago, and there was some discussion with Nick. There were some changes in the Wyoming Class balance versus the Peaks balance, your hospital funds. And so what had happened is we'd continued to move funds from the pool into your longer term hospital funds. And so I think I helped clear that up, but your balance right now is sitting at $55.8 million in your hospital funds, generating just about $2.1 million annually in income for you. The Natrona County investment pool has $418,553 in it. It's generating $18,500 per year. That's about a 4.52% yield. The Natrona General Fund, longer term investments again, $5.887 million. That's actually a 3.76% return, generating $221,000 per year. So those are your longer term funds, represented in bonds and CDs that are out 2, 3, 4, 5 years. The other pool of money that we have, and it's split up into a couple different sub-accounts, if you will, is Wyoming Class. And again, Wyoming Class is a local government investment pool that offers you daily liquidity. So it's kind of an apples and oranges comparison versus the longer term funds. In your Wyoming Class funds right now, you have $5.9 million in your general fund. And so far, year to date, you've earned $35,482 in that. These 5 accounts that I'm referencing here are all paying currently 3.7%. That's what Wyoming Class is paying right now in the pool. The hospital funds is sitting at $26.58 million. To year to date, we've generated $165,295. The Natrona County Emergency Cash Reserve, $8.58 million. Year to date, generating you $51,661. The Airport Control Tower funds represents $1.297 million. Year to date, $7,804 earned. And then the final component of the Wyoming Class sub-accounts is your ad valorem tax loan. There's $1.275 million in there, and to date that has earned $7,674. So now it's a little faster than we went last time. I wanted to touch on, like I said, those important parts of the economic snapshot. There's more in there, but I don't think we need to dive into the weeds quite that far. That gives you kind of a picture of where we are. So I'm certainly happy to entertain any questions, and then Joan will follow up with her part of it as well.
Any questions for Troy? Maybe you need to do it fast all the time.
We will work on that. You guys are an easy crowd today.
Joan, thank you for coming.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Joan Evans with PFM Asset Management. We are you're serving as an investment advisor for a fixed income portfolio for a portion of your hospital funds. So as Troy went through several liquid type accounts under the local government investment pool Wyoming Class, we are managing a long-term portfolio for you based on your investment policy that you have crafted. So we also provide a market update with our quarterly reports. You can see that in the first several pages. A lot of that information, Troy and I decided a long time ago when we first started doing this together that you don't need 2 market updates, so we try to alternate. So it was Troy's turn this time. So we'll skip on to page 14 and look at your portfolio for the Natrona County Hospital funds. Just to remind you, your initial deposit into this account was made in February of 2024 at $40,557,000 and some change. The market value of this fund at the end of December of 2025 was 44.9 million. A few things of note on page 14. Currently, your yield at cost is higher than your yield at market. So your yield at cost is what you paid for this investment when we invested your funds. Your yield at market is the current price in the market today. So when you see that yield at market lower than yield at cost, you know that interest rates have fallen and your portfolio has appreciated in value, likely due to those falling interest rates. The portfolio effective duration and the benchmark duration you can see is very close right now. So your benchmark is the 0 to 5 U.S. Treasury Index that was selected at the beginning of the portfolio based on your anticipation of needing any cash out of this portion of your funds. And so right now we're holding our, we manage our portfolios really based on the strategy of our portfolio strategies group, based on market expectations, where we feel the market is going. And so with so much uncertainty in the market right now and really not that feeling of interest rates significantly going up or significantly going down, as Troy mentioned, the market's pricing in 2 cuts to the overnight rate by the end of 2026, but that is not certain. So we're holding our portfolios really very close to duration to minimize your interest rate risk right now. So you can see at the bottom right-hand corner there, you can see where your portfolio is in the different time slots versus where the benchmark is. In the upper right-hand quadrant, you can see the sector allocation for your portfolio, and we'll talk about that in a few moments. And the lower left gives the credit quality of your overall portfolio. Page 15 covers your issuer diversification. If you skip to page 16, you can look at the sector allocation review of all of these funds. And so you can see how we've moved money over the past 4 quarters between the different securities from U.S. Treasuries to agencies, to the agency commercial mortgage-backed securities, collateralized mortgage obligations, those types of things. So basically our portfolio managers are looking for value. So when they see value, they move things around. We use U.S. Treasuries really as that bucket to move things in and out. We measure the spread between Treasuries and other sectors. So as you can see at the end in December of 2025, you can see some more movement into corporates, moving from 11.2% to 16.8%. So we did see some movement there as we saw more value as spreads widened out a little bit. But keep in mind, spreads have just been at historically tight values. So that's why you've seen so much of the portfolio in Treasuries. And then as we've seen value coming into the corporate sector or other sectors, we're picking that up using those dollars from Treasuries. As we move into the new year, March might show some further demand and issuance of corporates. That's all set up in your policy. We can go up to 20% of the portfolio in corporates as we see appropriate values. If you look at page 17, this shows the quarterly net sector activity. Again, I mentioned you'll see a lot of movement. This is where our portfolio managers are moving those funds around between the different sectors. And then page 18 summarizes that for a 12-month period. Looking at your portfolio performance on page 19, for the past 3 months, you'll see an outperformance of the benchmark there of 7 basis points. And for 1 year, 36 basis points. And since inception, 31 basis points. We do have some periods of time there in between 1 year and 3 years, but we just break that out into those particular sectors since your portfolio was started in 2024 for a partial year. On page 20, just a little bit further breakdown by quarter where we saw the performance. And, when we see a variation in interest rates, that's where we can see our performance being kind of close to the benchmark as we did there in the first quarter of 2025 with moving of interest rates. On page 2021, you can see the accrual-based earnings for you since inception, since April of 2024, since the portfolio was first measured on a QPR, quarterly performance report. And you can see those earnings totaling just over $3.5 million. Wrapping up the report, we have the issuer distribution that ties into each of the sectors, and those percentages there for your review, and then you'll see your disclosures. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So you've moved quite a bit into corporate, well, not quite a bit, not as much as Max, but you've moved quite a bit in. How are we doing by incorporating the corporate into our holdings? How's that working out for you?
Mr. Chairman, that is just a really good tool to have in the toolbox. We just started the corporate strategy, I believe, last May. So we really need a little bit more time to be able to show you specifically how that's been a boon for your portfolio. But where it really will help you is when the spreads start to widen out. And the spreads widened just before you amended your investment policy. So we missed a little bit of an opportunity there that happened in like February of March last year. But every time we see an opportunity for spreads to widen, then you're able to pick up that value of those corporate spreads against treasuries. One thing that the portfolio manager and I have talked about, you have a max of 20%. And ideally, I mean, if you ever felt comfortable with going a little bit higher on that, that just widens out the universe for us to be able to access, more out there in the corporate universe. I mean, we have some clients here in Wyoming, government clients that will go up to 35 or 40% of corporates. Now, we're not just going to go out and buy 40% corporates for your portfolio if that's your max. But it gives us the ability to do that if there's an opportunity in the market. And then we can trim those as we see necessary, put that money back into treasuries, and use that as dry powder for when spreads widen out. So really, it's a big kudos to all of you for passing that for your portfolio. And, over time, you'll really see a benefit to return.
Any questions? Sure.
This is a trick question.
I'll turn it over to Troy then.
He's reading off class, so
How tariffs and trade policies impact inflation remains a mystery. Is it really?
It does.
I can take that, Chairman.
How does that affect us, the fact that it remains a mystery?
Yeah, so as I said, there's a lot of moving parts in today's economy with all the uncertainty going on. When the tariffs were first proposed by the president, there was a lot of consensus out there that it was going to negatively impact the economy, that it was going to cost consumers a lot more, and it was going to lead to inflation. In fact, these really went into place in April of last year. Precipitously, we saw the stock market go down significantly. Since then, it has rebounded well above where it was before that. What we've seen over time is that the tariffs might not be having as big of an impact on the economy as once previously thought. So the jury is still out on what impact that has, but as we've seen recently now with the Supreme Court saying that the tariffs are a no-go, the federal government now is being sued by multiple entities to refund that tariff money as fast as possible. It still remains to be seen how much of an impact, if it does have any impact at all. If I may dovetail on your question as well, because there has been conversation just in the past few days in terms of what's going on in Iran. Obviously, oil prices are rising. There's economic uncertainty there about what a prolonged war is going to look like, how that could impact the economy as well. Stock market started out down over 1,000 points today. I think it ended down about 400, so it's rebounded some. That would come into play also in terms of where interest rates might be, because if the war does drag on longer than anticipated, that could have an impact on prices, also creating inflationary pressure. So there's just so much uncertainty out there right now.
And Mr. Chairman, I would tag on to that as well. I mean, I think the big question was how the tariffs would impact consumer spending, right? And consumer spending makes up 75% of the GDP. So if consumers aren't spending, then what will that do to GDP? And there is a slide in the market update that I provided that looked at the K-shaped economy. And so if we're thinking about spending, we're saying, oh, the consumer's still resilient, the consumer's still spending, we're still seeing positive numbers. So are tariffs really impacting the consumer's choices to spend? But there may be indications that, the top 10% might be spending a disproportionate amount because of their position in the economy. Probably homeowners, probably participating in the equity market, probably have savings. Because if you look at that wage trajectory, the lower quartile wages are going down, the higher quartile wages are going up. So that's what, we're saying we really don't know, because overall it looks like tariffs did not impact consumers, but maybe they did. So
the other part of my question is, maybe you can explain this a little more detail. It says the federal funds target rate may be close to neutral, but labor market concerns continue to put downward pressure on forecasts for 2026. What are the labor market concerns you're talking about?
So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Laird, labor market concerns at the end of 2024 were serious based on net zero job creation. So if you look at the data, 2023, 2024, the economy was adding 150,000 jobs a month, 175,000 jobs a month, and then we just kind of hit a wall. And so those numbers were really nearing, if you added up a quarter at a time, maybe close to zero. So, and then revisions coming. So maybe there was a job ad in a particular month, and then it would be back to being revised the previous month. So that was the concern really exiting 2025. Then we had a bounce in the January of 2026. We added, it was 160,000 jobs in January of 2026. So all eyes are really on the jobs report this Friday to see, is there going to be a revision to January numbers, and what are the February numbers going to be? Troy, you might have.
I'll just sum up by saying it almost sounds like a Democrat wrote all this rather than a Republican. Because the president claims that the labor market's great.
Yeah.
And not economic.
Yeah, I think, Chairman Mill, if I may, just to follow up on what Joan's saying, obviously the two concerns of the Fed is inflation and unemployment. They want inflation below 2%. We're still north of that number. It's just that right now, to really answer your question a little more, is what Joan was answering. Employment is softening. So while we're still adding jobs, the rate at which we are adding jobs is starting to slow down. And that's where, like Joan said, Friday's numbers, which are going to reflect the February, they always come out the first Friday of the following month. Friday's numbers for the month of February will be very telling if that continues to soften or not.
So should we be concerned about our investments?
In terms of your investments, I think they're in a very good place to be, honestly. I really do. I would not be concerned at all. Even with the softening labor market, as I pointed out in the dot plot, the consensus as an average with the Federal Reserve members is that rates will not drop below 3% this year. So we might see a little drop in the interest rates. We probably won't see a cut until June or July at the earliest, and they're expecting only 2 cuts this year. So in terms of your investments overall, I think you guys are in a very good spot.
When is that guy that's running the Fed, when is he out of office? In May?
It's in May, I believe, yes.
So the new guy,
Warsh.
if he drops 2 points, what does that do to us?
2 cuts or 2 points would represent actually 2%. So we wouldn't see anything that significant.
Isn't that what Trump wants him to do?
Yeah. Yes, I think Trump would like interest rates to go to 0. Yes, certainly. He's obviously the logic behind that is the lower interest rates would stimulate spending and boost the economy. So that's what Trump is pushing, right? Trump is counting on a lot of growth in the economy. He thinks that if we can get a lot of growth, we can help, get out of debt that we're in. But if you ask 100 different economists the same question, you'll probably get 100 different answers as well. So in terms of your investments, I'm happy with where you are. I think in terms of what Joan's offering, what we're offering, in terms of both pools, you guys are in a really good spot.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just have a quick question. I've read some economic reports that talk about the potential of an AI bubble burst. It's similar to the dot-com bubble burst. decades ago. What's your stance on that, and are we protected to some extent with our investments right now?
Yeah, I'll answer that first and then
Go ahead,
Sharon, you
yeah.
can follow up. Yeah, the AI honestly is, my opinion personally, changes every day. Because you hear something new. In terms of where your investments are, you guys are invested in the safest assets out there, right? So your portfolio is a very safe place to be. Is there an AI? I think when they talk about an AI bubble, they're probably speaking about companies like Nvidia and so forth that we've heard about in the news, that maybe they're overvalued, right? But then I've also heard, executives at Microsoft come out and say that in the next 18 months, 2 years, 5 years, we're going to see a lot of white collar jobs just be eliminated, right? So there's just a lot of uncertainty there as well in terms of AI. I think AI is going to present a lot of significant changes. It's going to change the way we do things. But I think the bubble you're referring to is really talking about the valuation of those companies that are participating heavily in AI, primarily the tech sector.
Correct that, and I have seen some job reports that a lot of the jobs that are created right now are primarily related to some of those tech sector jobs. And so some softening could occur there if I'm reading those correctly.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, in this crazy way, some of these computer programmers and software engineers are writing themselves out of a job, right? Their jobs are going to be getting replaced by the very, software they're creating. So, I think we could see some significant changes in the labor market forthcoming, but I think we're still a couple years away from that before we see anything too significant. You bet.
Any further?
Good, thanks.
All right. I appreciate you guys coming in, especially coming up with fighting the Cheyenne snow.
Oh, the weather's better
Yeah.
here, so it's good.
That's right.
Destination stop now. So it's good.
Outstanding.
Yeah. Chairman, if I may, real quick, just want to remind everyone, and we've talked about this in the past, our portfolios are a little different in that she is investing in corporates and we are sticking with the strategy of treasuries and agencies. That way there's not really any overlap or competition between the two. The two portfolios do really complement one another. So going forward, you might see greater returns in the portfolio that she's doing, but that's because of the corporates, but we are sticking to the treasuries and agencies. So they do complement each other in that regard. We're going to continue that going forward.
Well, I look forward to seeing you guys toward the end of the year. Please stay in touch with investment board and work with them. And yeah,
We appreciate the time.
Sounds great, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
It's our job.
all righty. Move on to commissioner and clerk discussions. We looked at some hearing. It's attached to behind your agenda here. Looked at some times and some days proposal. Madam Clerk, you want to kick this off, or?
Mr. Chairman, sure. These-
Hey, if you could be more unprepared, I will definitely use you
Can you
even
put it
more.
off till December 31st?
No. Was that too fast for you, Dallas?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, excuse me, this just kind of replicated or duplicated what we did last year as far as time frame and time slots. I haven't sent this out to anybody yet, just I wanted to, or Mr. Chairman wanted to see if these dates and times would work for you for the initial budget hearings. Mr. Chairman, again, I did not type this, nor did I catch that. Thank you.
I
This is just a proposal. This has
It's
not went
proposal
out.
from
This
last
is a
year.
very rough draft.
This is just a proposal with the times.
Breathe.
Yes. Look at the times and dates. Don't look at the directors, please.
I mean, Tracy could win the lottery and leave us all of a sudden. So,
Oh, say 1:30. Anyway, yeah, I don't have any concerns with
the order.
Do the dates and time, specifically times for like the 19th, do those work for everybody, those dates and times? Everybody
Today they do.
good? Okay. Yeah. So, take a look at your calendars real quick, just to make sure, just to confirm if,
Have, we asked the department heads, if that's enough time for all of them, because I noticed some of them are 45 minutes and some of them are 30.
Mr. Chairman, typically this is the schedule we have adhered to, for several years now. Again, this has not went out, so there might be revisions due to their availability also.
Okay.
And again, I am, by statute required to have your budgets to you by May 15th, so.
everybody good with that? Okay. Dates and times are committed. Let's schedule that. Correct the, Jared and Heather and stuff like that, things.
Mr. Chairman, I will take care of it. Thank you.
What? I caught it and said something on an email, but whatever. Okay. Just giving you grief.
Just remember, you have three lame duck commissioners, so you're in good shape.
Michelle, were you able to find anything out about that?
Chairman, Commissioners, the council was or is in favor of it. They'll be doing a ratification of the resolution because they found out yesterday that they needed a resolution of support. So there were 3 council members in support, and then on Monday's meeting, they will do the ratification of the resolution. So yes, the council is in favor.
Okay, and this is a reference the letter of support for the new police operations building using federal funding for the town of Evansville. Peter made some changes to the letter a little bit, and I didn't have any problem. Is this the letter with the changes, Michelle? Okay. And that's very last page attached to your agenda. Any discussion on this?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
for the other commissioners, the changes I proposed, and I think they could be considered for the letter regarding the interceptor. You know, presented to us as factual that the county commissioners are saying this is the problem, this is the solution, and so my suggestions were to say things like it's intended, meaning as far as we know. And I think that we can be supportive without being forced to make factual statements for which we don't have a lot of basis. I could go further in my suggestions on both of these letters, but I think future commission, this commission in the future and future commissions can just keep in mind that what people present to us for the chairman's signature and for our consideration, we don't have to sign off on it when we're not comfortable with factual statements.
No, I agree, and I was glad to see the changes that you made. I agree with them. I hate being held responsible for somebody else's actions and statements. I really do.
Responsible anyway.
Anyway, But no, I do appreciate those changes that you made, Peter. Thank you. Any other discussion points for that particular letter? Dave? Are you still reading it? Okay. Okay, so I guess, anybody care to make a motion, to accept it and move it forward, or just what?
Motion to sign letters of support for A and B letter review for the Evansville Police Department and the City of Casper's EDA FY 2025 disaster supplemental request.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion for the letter for the city application specific to that letter? Okay, so motion second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Do those two letters of support.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
if it would please the commission, I'd like to maybe discuss the Industrial Siting Council's letter with regard to Dyna Solar and maybe have legal weigh in on her understanding of that.
No, I have no problem with that. It's within our commissioner discussion. Go ahead.
So, and I apologize. As you all know, we received a letter for, from the Industrial Siting Council concerning Dyno Solar. They are essentially, I haven't read through the whole packet yet. I mean, it's pretty extensive. But I was going to bring this back up to you guys next commission as well, so we can discuss what we want to do. But essentially, there's two questions. It's, you know, they're asking to extend the deadline to start the project. As far as I know, nothing has been, you know, they haven't started any of it. And I do know that Bar None was sending a letter too concerning this. Pat had called me today shortly before this meeting and told me, and he was going to send me a copy of it. I haven't seen it yet though. So that was the one is, you know, they're asking for an extension for the deadline to start. And then two, they're asking to downsize the project. So they're going to make it a little bit smaller is the two big things right now that they're asking.
So I have concerns with this project in particular. This is the project that put the Natrona County Fire Department in the financial situation it was in with the ordering of the trucks that they didn't have the funds to cover. This is a project's been ongoing, hasn't started, and I know that the City of Mills has also expended funds that were supposed to be part of this project. Scaling it back, I know the letter says that even scaled back, the financial commitment wouldn't be any less, basically due to costs on it. My feeling is that the county should at least have some ability to make public comment or comment to the Industrial Siting Council, maybe to voice these concerns in particular of the impact that they've had to the county when this hasn't even started, based on, you know, like, I guess a hope and a dream that maybe we're gonna have a solar farm out by Bar None.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to reiterate those concerns, but I also have other concerns. Number one, we have a conditional use permit with the county that expires this year, and this project was supposed to have started by April of 2024, and nothing has started yet. I am concerned about the community impact that it has had. I am concerned about the change of scope in the direction and the size that they're looking at and exactly where they're going to put this. And I also am concerned about what Bar None is concerned about as far as it basically influencing their growth boundary to the west. And if West Winds ever does decide to move through, that this would be right in the middle of it. So there are concerns out there, both financially and development wise, and do believe that we need to take a pretty good look at this. The fact that they just sent this out and they want to have the hearing on the 24th of March is a little bit concerning too, because of the short time frame that's associated with that. And because of that, I do believe that we need to take at least some action. I'm not saying exactly what it is, but I do believe that we need to express our concerns to the state.
Mr. Place.
I concur with the previous comments to the extent that a lot of time has elapsed. The project looks, to my casual observation, significantly and materially different. And conditional use permits, while we should give people the certainty to develop their projects once they have them, I think that it should mean something when we say X number of years. I think I would always be open-minded to reasonable extensions. I really think we're pushing the envelope on that in this case. So I think we can talk about exactly what our options are, or I'd like to receive some legal guidance from council in executive session for what those options are. I think I have some idea, but I'd like to be clear on those. And so at the appropriate time, I think this should be today, this should be a subject of executive session.
Mr. Laird.
I agree with that, and I think 3 years is too long. Give them 3 years, and it's actually, it would probably be a whole new commission having to deal with it. Nobody runs for any further offices here. It'll be on a whole new group of people that need to deal with it. I don't think it's fair to do that, actually. That's my general feeling.
Ashley, I think you have a unanimous board who wants more direction, and we need some more discussion on this as for moving forward. I'm in agreement that deadline's a deadline. I understand projects do take time. I put them together. However, extensions have been made, and we need to take a look at that. How does this impact the community now versus then? What are our options? And the siting board needs to know our concerns. So, all right. Anything else on it? Gentlemen? Okay. And so, yeah, we'll need to discuss this in exec at some point. Okay. Anything else you got for us?
Yeah, so, all right, East End Road, as we mentioned before, I had sent out letters to them about amending the easements. So far, 4 people have responded. We're still waiting on about 6 responses. They have until Friday to respond. I asked them to respond by Friday, so I'm hopeful that the people that I've talked to, I've told them I'm waiting on a couple more responses, so they're trying to help reach out to some of their neighbors too.
Okay.
For us. Squaw Creek, I will note that there was a bit of a typo on the first letters that we sent out to them. The last paragraph, it accidentally said Circle Drive instead of Squaw Creek. Felicia and I, we fixed that and we resent those letters. And it said that only in the last paragraph, everything else in it was correct and had the correct name. It was just the one spot that had the incorrect name. But we've sent out letters or resent those letters out to all the people, along with the surveys. We also did the survey with those letters too.
By resending out those letters, did that restart the time? Okay.
Nope, because nothing else was substantially changed. It
Okay.
was just that little typo. So far, we've received 1 comment. We are having a meeting tomorrow at 6 p.m. at the Ag Building and Mills to answer people's questions concerning the Squaw Creek stuff. My, I thought Mike's email said. Let me verify.
Is there a extension building members?
Oh, okay. No, it's the yeah. It's the Agricultural Resource Learning Center. I gotta figure out where that is. So, in the Mills room is what it says.
Yeah,
That's
there
where
you
the
go.
Mills gate is.
South, it's just in front of the south gate to the fairgrounds.
Okay. But that's tomorrow at 6. So we can try to answer some more people's questions because we have been getting several calls concerning why we're doing this.
Okay. And what time is that?
6 o'clock.
Okay.
6 p.m. And then as a reminder too for Squaw Creek, the deadline to submit comments is this Friday, the 6th. So another thing that we've done this week is we did an RFP for facility maintenance to replace 4 existing makeup air units at the jail. We will be publishing that RFP in the paper this Saturday. And the deadline for proposals on that's going to be April 17th, and we're going to take that RFP to you all May 5th. So we got that completed. And then another thing that we're kind of working on with planning and zoning is we're looking at doing a possibly a community cleanup project again. Hopefully, where we put out some dumpsters at Salt Creek and Coal Creek. I guess from talking to Sabrina, we were talking to the sheriffs as well, and apparently it was very successful. The last time we've done that, it was a little bit more successful than doing the vouchers like we did last year. But Sabrina is looking at getting some grant money and stuff to try to help with the cost of that. But, this is to help, for one, clean up the area, but also there's some fire mitigation as well. When these places have a lot of trash and stuff built up, they're more prone to set fire. So.
Ashley, does the detention center joint powers board need to approve those makeup units? I'm not sure if we've already approved that or not in our last meeting, if we discussed that.
What?
I don't remember, because if we had, it would have been a while ago. And since that is a split between the city and the county, I want to make sure that we've got that covered. If we haven't already discussed it, I just want to make sure we do.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. No. So anyway, we've been working on that. So I just want to make sure that if we need to go out and do a vote, that we send stuff back to Michelle, that we got that covered. So we have that.
We just started looking at that last week is when we were discussing this. So we're still in the very early stage of trying to figure some of the stuff out. But
Okay.
I will definitely bring that up too with Sabrina, just to remind her too that we might have to do that.
Sabrina or Garrett? Garrett.
Oh,
Yeah,
for the RFP?
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah.
You switched
I was
gears
about to say, I
on
don't
me.
remember Sabrina having anything to do with that. What she's,
I'm like, what?
so, yeah, no, yeah, as long as we do that and make sure that we've got that we're pushing that through, so that so we know
Okay.
what that cost share is. So, okay, thanks.
Yep. And that's pretty much what we've been working up on legal, other than Tab 25's public records. It's pretty standard, but these are the big projects that we're continuing to knock out.
Alrighty, any further commissioner discussions that need to be brought up? No, this isn't your public comment.
I don't know how we're coming along with our interview schedule for the couple boards we need to fill. We have the airport board, position and the collective position, and I'm not sure what the other ones are, but just wondering what the time frame is for those.
I do have one addition to that is that Brian Oliver will be, we will have one on the fire board that, Mike has been working on a letter, so we can put that announcement out there.
Oh, okay.
Specifically for that one. There are some requirements specifically for Brian, leaving in June. Then we'll have that position that we need to get filled. So,
You work with Michelle, make sure that. those
yeah,
requirements
yeah.
and everything are-
Mike was gonna send that out so you have exactly what we need to cover.
So, Chairman, Commissioners, currently we have the Collective Health Trust. We have a vacancy on there. I believe we've only received one application, and then the airport, I don't know if we've received only one or maybe two applicants for that one. So those are the only vacancies that I'm aware of. And then the notices for the June will go out. I'll send the memos to the department heads, the media, the website, in the beginning of that first week of April. So,
Thank you, Michelle. And Mr. Chairman, I had talked to the airport board about a kind of a time frame that looked like the closing of the period around mid-March, and then the interviewing period be a couple weeks after that, so that they can get that board member on. Maybe as early as the first part of April, but they need somebody sooner than later. So I wouldn't think it would be in their best interest to have it go on for 2-3 months. And I know that's not what we're talking about, but I just we talked about March 15th maybe being the close of that period.
yeah, I can, Chairman, Commissioners, I can send out an email either tonight or tomorrow. I can send out an email tonight when I get home that March 15th is the deadline, have everything in by then. The hard part is figuring out for you guys when you want to interview.
Once you get your email pretty much put together and out, when are you all, anybody taking any trips or anything like that? Yep. So you're the one that's asking for this and you're going to take off. What the? We only have the 3 applicants.
We only have, honestly, I've been working on another project, so I know I have two or 3 applications that I just haven't had a chance to scan in yet.
Okay.
So, yeah, so the hard part is gonna be you guys. If you guys can give me a date, it will be even better. I can say, have your application in by this day and interviews will be on this day.
I'm thinking, how about the 16th or the 30th? How about definitely the 30th then?
That's a Monday?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just throwing something out there. I don't
Okay.
have any.
The
Monday.
30th, we don't have anything, I don't see anything on the schedule. But we could also do
I
a
know.
Teams or call in if we need
What
to.
about the 16th? Would that give you adequate time or no?
Well, you want them in by the 15th? Yeah, yeah. That would mean, yeah, I
How
can
about the
schedule.
18th?
No. I can schedule them, the ones that I have, and then as they come in, I can just schedule them. So
Why don't
we
we do
can-
the 18th?
we can maneuver.
18th, sure. So let's look at the 18th. That gives you a couple of days in case Tracy gives you a side project. You know,
Okay,
you-
so 18th is on my end, open all day. So when would you want to do the interview? Starting at 5:30?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we will just
That
do,
gives the applicants time to get in off of work and everything like that. As those of us
So-
that work.
the deadline for both of those boards is going to be March 15th. And interviews on March 18th, starting at 5:30.
Yep.
Okay.
Does that work for you too? That we're gossiping? Whatever. You're gonna be napping.
for being so kind and setting.
You're gonna be napping. Don't give me that. You're gonna bring everybody burritos, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Good ones.
Okay. Any other business we need to take care of? Ashley, you got anything else for us? Nope. Madam Clerk, do you have anything for the group?
Do I have a few minutes?
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't prepared, but I'm gonna ask.
Okay, never mind.
So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, as you know, election season is fastly approaching, and typically I will need additional staff in my election department, and I usually grab my staff members from my other outlying departments, such as titles and the records room, which I plan on doing again this year. However, I would need to hire a temporary worker, and I'll start that person in mid-June, probably right after filing, to get them trained, and then I will have them through approximately end of November. So the reason why I'm bringing this up, obviously, is budget. So I would need to hire this person before the 26-27 budget would be approved. So I guess what I'm asking for is reassurance or verification that that expense would be approved in my elections budget. Right now, it's about, I think it's going to be about $28,000 to have that temp worker for that period of time.
Okay.
I will stand for any questions, so I'm asking for that money to be pre-approved before the budget hearings.
Any questions? Tracy? Discussion on it?
need a motion?
No. I don't think so, not right now.
I guess, with that, I'm asking permission to be able to hire the person, and have the budget to keep that person through the time frame I discussed.
So we just need to do a budget correction for you.
No, not necessarily. We wouldn't get the invoice until July, the first invoice in July. So it would go into the 26-27 budget, but what I'm asking is just, solidification that that part of my budget wouldn't be part of a cut if there need be in my election budget.
Exactly, that's what I'm thinking.
Well, you're really gonna love what else I'm asking for, but that's the main thing I'm asking for right now.
I'm sure we could probably work it out.
Well, probably and can is a big difference. Please.
Couple retired commissioners that would be more than happy to help you if they don't.
Perfect, thank you. I love that.
I support you.
Aren't you glad you spoke up?
Yes, I am, because it's been bugging me, so.
Wow. We all good on Peter? House?
Oh, thank you very much.
Do we need to go into exec real quick? Okay. For personnel. I don't know about litigation. I know about personnel though.
Motion to go into executive session for personnel and potential legal
Advice.
advice. Yeah, sure. For legal advice and personnel.
I'll second that.
Motion second, going exec. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're in exec. Oh, God. Hey, how are you? Good. Okay. Okay, we're pretty much here. So, back from exec, we did make a decision in exec to work with the local jurisdictions, bar none, mills, whoever, and send a letter to the state concerning Dyna Solar that we have concerns about the extension and the speed that it's happening at. Commissioner North and our council will be putting that together and we'll be sending it out. Am I forgetting anything else? Okay, so we'll move back into a regular session. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded the second, so all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And ayes have it. Any contracts, agreements, and resolutions that we need to take care of, Michelle? Hi. Any contracts, agreements, or any resolutions that we need to take care of that kept popped up? Okay. Outstanding. Move on to public hearings. Alrighty. I now declare a public hearing open for the consideration of MS 25-02 Christensen edition. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statutes, rules of Natrona County Commission and other applicable laws. May we have a report from staff, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. As you mentioned, this is MS 25-02, the Christensen Edition Major Subdivision. Property is located approximately 12 miles east of Casper with two potential access roads, Happy Glen Lane and Silver Sage Lane. The zoning is rural residential. There's a minimum lot size of 5 acres. The existing land used is vacant residential. The surrounding areas on each side is rural residential. Here is the plat suggested for this lot. So they want to divide a 10-acre lot into two 5-acre lots, which would be lot 1 and lot 2. In your packet, it states the criteria for approval for a major subdivision. For planning considerations, Natrona County Road and Bridge does not have any issues with this major subdivision and therefore does not have any comment. The County Fire District does not have a problem with this subdivision. The Natrona County Health Department reviewed the plat and stated that soils appear to be sandier per the USDA Web Soil Survey, which could lead to faster percolation rates. A fast percolation rate could require a professionally engineered design system, but the nearest neighboring systems appear to be conventional designs, making the engineered design less likely. Septic systems will need to be maintained. Setbacks from neighboring wells, which we do not have locations for. There's a dry creek bed running through the north end of the both proposed lots, which you can kind of see the floodplain right here with a dry creek bed on the proposed lots. Septic should be installed at least 50 feet from the bed. Septic placement is likely possible on both lots, but cannot be guaranteed on any lot. Septic system approval will be contingent on placement, silt trench, percolation tests, and application packet. The Natrona County GIS reviewed and accepted the plat. Assessor mapping reviewed and found no issues with the plat. The surveyor reviewed and accepted the plat after appropriate corrections were made. The records department reviewed and found no issues with the plat, and the County Conservation District did not comment. Staff sent notices to 19 surrounding neighbors, and as of the date of this report, we have not received any written comments. Staff recommendations: the Planning and Zoning Commission tabled this case at their November 19th, 2025 meeting to enable staff to gather appropriate easement documents and confirm legal easement access to the property from US 2026. Staff was able to confer with the applicant, agent, and county legal to confirm legal access to the property. This is all in your packets, and I am happy to Ben Stein voice the rest of the next 3 paragraphs, or we can move on. Okay, then.
Any questions for staff?
Mr. Chairman,
Sir?
I don't like the label of this as a major subdivision. This is a minor subdivision. This is and why can't we change our subdivision regulations to, I had somebody call and said, and anyway, kind of walked them through it. And, I just think that this, for future planning, that this is not a major issue, as I see it. I think it's simple. I think it's minor.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Nicolasian, per our regulations, this has already been subdivided, which disqualifies it from the simple subdivision process as of today. Since we now have a planning technician who is really getting her feet wet, I will be able to go back to our subdivision regulations and continue rewriting those.
Any further questions? Thank
No, no Ben Stein? All right then. The applicant is here to answer any questions, and we do recommend approval of this application.
All right. At this time, I'd ask those individuals that wish to speak in favor of consideration of MS 25-02 to approach the lectern.
Dan Christensen, my wife Holly Christensen,
Address?
800 Silver Sage Lane,
Thank you.
Evansville, you bet. So of course we approve it. Appreciate all the time and effort that's been in to kind of clarify all the things. Brita, thank you. Ashley, Bill, thank you for doing that. So, yep, but we're definitely in favor of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
Okay.
Thank you for coming tonight,
Yeah,
though.
absolutely. Thank
Any
you.
questions for the applicants? Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
And at this time, Bill's gonna jump in front of me talking. That's fine, whatever. Go ahead, sir.
Bill Farringer with CEPI, 6080 Enterprise Drive. I just wanted to kind of come up here and just say that there were issues or there were questions at the planning about access, and we worked closely with your county staff, and they were great. Did a wonderful job of doing a lot of research, and we did a lot of back and forth, but we got all the easement stuff worked out to where there's clear access all the way to these properties. So there should be no issue with that, but just a shout out to the county staff. They were great to work with and helped us along this whole process. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
Have
Thank
any
you.
questions about the plat? I'm happy to answer.
Any questions? Could you identify yourself?
Oh yeah, Bill Farringer, CEPI,
From Casper.
6080 Enterprise Drive, Casper.
Outstanding, thank you.
Yes.
All right, at this time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in favor of consideration MS 25-02 to approach the lectern. And final time. This time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in favor of consideration of MS 25-02 to approach the lectern. Seeing none, moving on. This time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition of consideration of MS 25-02 to approach the lectern. This time, I'd ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition of consideration of MS 25-02 to approach the lectern. And final time, at this time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition of consideration of MS 25-02 to approach the lectern. Seeing no more, there being no others to speak for or against consideration of MS 25-02, I now declare the public hearing closed. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
considering all relevant factors, including but not limited to those set forth in the 2013 subdivision regulations of Natrona County. I find that the major subdivision meets the general standards required. On that basis, I move to approve MS 2502 with a due pass, with all staff findings of fact incorporated by reference.
I'll second that.
I heard Peter second it first. Sort of. All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. I would like to give my appreciation to the planning board for tabling this and getting the easements and whatnot figured out. So let them know. Thank you. So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say sign. Nope. Ayes have it. There you go. It's passed. Thank you. And the second one up. Now declare the public hearing open for consideration of CUP 26-01 Midstream Energy Partners. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statutes, rules of Natrona County Commission, and other applicable laws. May we have a report from the staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. As you mentioned, CUP 26-01, Midstream Energy Partners is requesting a conditional use permit to allow two 90,000-gallon LPG tanks to be placed on the lot. The intention of the project is to relocate the capability of trucking in and out LPG product from Shoshone to Casper facilities for efficiency and blending at the existing Casper terminal. The property is located at 6730 North 6 Mile Road, which is located in the heavy industrial zoning. The zone, as I mentioned, is heavy industrial. The minimum lot size in that zone is 2 acres. The adjacent land use on all other properties is heavy industrial, except that 6 Mile Road is to the west, and then there's urban agriculture past that. CUP standards were written in your packets with the criteria for approval that was outlined by the applicant. Staff findings in the case of CUP 26-01, staff finds the criteria for approval as listed above in steps 1 through 7 are met. It will not overburden county services, but will allow Midstream Energy Partners to operate their facility in Natrona County. This use is consistent with the land use plan as it is located in a heavy industrial, far away from any businesses and residential. This CUP is required per the 2022 zoning resolution as the capacity of the tanks exceeds 12,000 gallons. Chapter 4, Section 4.08.11, storage of flammable or combustible liquids, and Section E1, storage of flammable and combustible liquids more than 12,000 gallons is only allowed in districts LI, HI, and airport HUD by a conditional use permit and must comply with International Fire Code regulations. The storage of flammable or combustible liquids more than 12,000 gallons must be located 1,000 feet away from any residence. Planning considerations. Staff received the following comments. County Health Department stated I would defer to other agencies involved, including EPA, WDEQ, County Fire, and others for proper approval. In the event the facility requires restrooms, we would need to follow regulations regarding septic system approval or connect to an existing sewage system. County Fire District is aware of the project and has been a part of the fire safety analysis. They are fine with the project. That fire safety analysis was also included in your time packet, which is why the packet was so big. I apologize for that, but wanted to give you the information. The County GIS Department stated this application is located within the C-Trans subdivision lot, number 1, lot 3. I did not see any subdivision legal description reference, and I don't know if it's needed or not. It does not appear that the permit plan impacts easements on the property. Perhaps you could provide the C-Trans subdivision number 1 plat to the applicant for their records. YDOT made a comment that they have no comment. County Conservation District did not make a comment, and County Road and Bridge stated they reviewed the application and does not see any impact to the county road system. 6 Mile Road was built to handle heavy truck traffic. Public comment and staff sent notices to surrounding neighbors as of the date of this report. We haven't received any written comments, except that we did receive a written comment from the airport that they are okay with it. And then we also received a letter from a neighboring property, and she had some concerns that she just wanted addressed. She was not against the project. That was also listed in your packet as well, and the applicants are here and will address any of those concerns. Staff recommends that the application for additional conditional use permit is complete and that the request is in compliance with items 1 through 7 of the approval criteria shown above, and recommends a do pass recommendation. And I will pass it off to the applicant for their presentation and possibly answer any questions.
Good evening. My name is,
Just a minute, please. How's that? Just go ahead. If you identify yourself, name and address.
Colin McBeatrice, 1252 Country Club Road, Casper, Wyoming.
And this isn't for public comment, it's like for or against, we just need the information from you.
Correct.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm the terminal manager for Midstream Energy at Casper Terminal Center in Casper. This is my assistant manager, Ross Susik. I'm going to let him speak first and just give a brief understanding of midstream, and then I'm going to talk about some safety concerns that were covered before.
Hello, my name is Ross Susik, 6740 Whiskey Gap Road, Casper, Wyoming. I just want to give you some background information about Midstream Energy Partners. Our company was founded in 2018 by executives that have been in the energy industry since the mid-80s. We now have 39 locations across the U.S. and Canada. All of the MEP locations have been in the business of safe handling, transporting, and storing liquefied petroleum gas products. The 2 LPG tanks from Shoshone were used for rail unloading into the tanks and truck loading out of the tanks. The operation shut down and we needed to move the tanks off the leased property. We would like to put these tanks to use in blending butane into our pipelines. The purpose of blending is to lower the viscosity of our oil to target a more desirable blend of oil for our customers. The butane will be shipped by rail car, transferred to a truck that will deliver the butane to the 2 90,000 gallon tanks. The tanks will inject the butane into our oil pipeline, and this will be self-contained within our existing site. This will not add any traffic to any roadway. We will meet or exceed the liquefied petroleum gas code NFPA 58 for the safe storage, handling, transportation, and use of LPG to prevent fires or explosions. We do not expect to put any additional constraints on the fire department. The nearest residence is roughly 3,200 feet away, which is over half a mile from the tanks. We are nearly 3,800 feet from the corn maze. All precautionary measures have and will be taken to ensure the safe transfer of products within our system to minimize hazards to life and environment. And with that, I will pass it back off to Colin.
So this project has been engineered to be a safe operation and meet or exceed code. But there are several safety analyses that need to be done. And there are many agencies who are going to be overseeing this from the construction and on. One of them is the WDEQ for air quality, and we applied for an additional permit to go along with our already existing air quality permit. This system is a closed loop system, which means that there's basically no emissions. Products don't come in on rail cars. We have our own propane truck to unload through a transloader, so it's a closed system. Drive it over to the 90,000 gallon tanks. Again, a closed system loop back in, so when you disconnect, you barely have any emissions. You know, at most you could have maybe a half a cup. We're in the process of implementing a PSM program, which is a process safety management. Now, this is overseen by OSHA, and this program protects the workers. It looks at processes and hazards associated with the process and what could go wrong and what safeguards need to be implemented to prevent a release or accident. Then there's our RMP, or Risk Management Plan, and this is overseen by the EPA. This program protects the community and the environment. It acts as a stopgap for potential risk by identifying potential risk events ahead of time. And then we have, as was mentioned earlier, an FSA, fire safety analysis that was done. And in this is evaluating for fire and explosion hazards and the potential consequences of a loss of containment or fire scenarios. The FSA was done by a third party, Transtech Energy. And the FSA looks for, is there plenty of water source in the area if there's a fire? We have to have a minimum of 1,500 gallons per minute. We have 3 fire hydrants, 625 feet, 825, and 2,800 feet away from this lot. And each one are color-coded blue, which means they produce 1,500 gallons of water per minute. And when the fire department looked at that, they said their response time is 19 minutes, and that was adequate for that. There are also PSV, pressure safety valves, flow valves, flame and gas detections, as well as breakaway connections. And all valves are air operated, and they have a fail-close shutdown. This was professionally engineered by a company called Fortress. They're a well-respected engineering company. And then Granite Peak Energy Service, which is a local company, will be doing the construction if it's approved. Now, any questions or answers?
Any questions? Thank you for the synopsis.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Any questions for Sabrina? No? Quiet. All righty. At this time, I'd ask those individuals who wish to speak in favor of consideration of CUP 26-01 approach the lectern. At this time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in favor of consideration of CUP 26-01 to approach the lectern. And at this time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in favor of consideration of CUP 26-01 to approach the lectern. This time, I'd ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition of consideration of CUP 26-01 to approach the lectern. Those who wish to speak in opposition of consideration of CUP 26-01, please approach the lectern. And final time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition of consideration of CUP 26-01 to approach the lectern. There being no one to speak for or against consideration of CUP 26-01, I now declare the public hearing closed. Can I help you? I have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to approve CUP 26-01 Midstream Energy Partners for the installation of 2 90,000 gallon LPG tanks with all staff facts and findings associated with this.
Got a motion. Do I have a second? I've got a motion and a second. Is there further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, this is exactly the area that this was designed for, and it's a great place for putting this here, and I do appreciate the opportunity for expansion in that area and getting things operational. I think this is going to be a good fit for that area out there.
All righty. Motion is second. Discussion's closed. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Motion's passed. Thanks, Sabrina. Thank you. Well, the agenda I have in my hot little hand doesn't talk about any public comment or anything like that, so we'll just kind of move past that. No? Dang, okay. Let's open up public comment, I guess. It's open.
I get 5 minutes, thank you. Not me, okay,
About a
fair,
minute.
fair,
And
fair.
you're burning it up right now with me talking.
Chairman and Commissioners, thank you for your consideration on the matter of the,
What's your name?
Peter Boyer, Mayor, Bar None, Wyoming. Is that good? Is that sufficient?
Good enough.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I'm used to being on the other side. I really appreciate you considering my request. I'm sure that you, I don't know, I assume you guys saw my email, but we have some pretty serious concerns. I don't know why the previous mayor did not address these concerns, but now is my opportunity, so I'm grabbing it and I'm running with it so that I can, make sure that my town is going to be taken care of. And I wanted to reemphasize a couple of real quick points. This battery farm is going in west of town. I don't know why this thing is being built west of town. It doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever. The battery farm itself, all of our winds come in from the west. We've had multiple prairie fires that have almost reached the town. For me, this is a safety concern. I know a lot of people really freaked out about Radiant, but this is an actual safety concern. If there is a continual fire in a battery bank for hours, because now the new protocol is just let them burn instead of, originally it was to try to put them out with some sort of, whatever, I can't remember the foam, some sort of foam. And now it's just let it burn. We have to watch that for hours and hours while it burns. And I don't even know what kind of toxic gases or anything else is involved with this. So that's one thing. The other one is it blocks our growth boundaries. So our growth boundary obviously goes out a mile outside of our town. Well, this cuts us off to the west, and that's a pretty big deal for us. We're a small town. We want to grow, and that hurts us pretty bad. And then the West Wind Roads extension, that has been discussed multiple times. Don't know if it's ever going to happen. It would be nice if it did, but if you look at the location of where this solar farm extends to, it extends north of. So if you've got west winds, it extends north of west winds. So if you were to ever do that extension, you have to go around the solar farm now. I feel like it was not well planned, and I think these things should have been brought up originally, which is what my purpose is. And then the size and scope of this has changed so dramatically. I don't feel like it's the same project. And it's going to be 7 years before this thing is finally built if they get an extension into 2029. I just feel like it's at some point we all kind of need to, even the ISC needs to pump the brakes a little bit and kind of say, let's go back to the drawing board. You need to resubmit. So that's kind of my feelings on that. What I would like to see is I'd like to see the solar panels move south of town somehow. That would be nice so that we're not blocked in. I would like to see it resubmitted to ISC in the current form that they want to put it in instead of trying to just keep continually extending it. I know that they're saying that the funding is still the same, but the size of the project has changed dramatically. So I think that needs to be taken into consideration. And then if this is going to go through in its current condition, then I think annexation for the town, at least so we can get some benefit out of this, needs to be on the table. Because as it stands right now, it doesn't benefit us. If you want to compare apples to oranges, in this case it would be apples to elephants, but if you want to compare apples to oranges, Radiant was going to bring in 250 jobs. It was going to bring in millions of dollars of revenue, and tons of ancillary jobs to the community. This is going to have 5 full-time employees. There's just not much there. So that's I guess that's my final plea is that if it's going to go through, at least let's talk about annexation. So with that, I'll close out. I kept it under 5 minutes. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. You have a question?
I have a question. I'm sorry.
He's got a question.
Yes, sir.
Imagine that.
Well, I want to make sure of something. Are you and your town against this right now?
Yes. As it stands right now, yes.
Thank you.
Ma'am, how are you tonight?
I'm here with you guys.
Do I have to?
So yeah, prompt me to tell you who I am. Mayor Juarez, Chairman Commissioners with City of Mills. I'm here to support bar none as well, as you guys and the other communities. I think that Peter's in a pretty difficult situation where the mayor before him allowed this project to go through with some very narrow forethought of what that meant. The city or the town is blocked in. That's their major growth boundary. They're pretty well walled off there. Right? So if this Dino Solar is looking at or taking back the project and making it smaller, let's bring them back to pitch it in front of all of us so that we can talk about it and maybe work together to find a way to move that project a little bit more on the property that benefits both parties. My frustration with the ISC, I've been pretty loud and vocal about it across the board. It needs to change. I don't agree, with all respect to the director, I do not agree that that person has the sole right to approve or deny the change of the conditional use that we've allowed them to have. So I think that they need to be brought back in front of everybody to repitch the plan and have buy-in from everyone again. I've been pretty adamant also the expenses that we've all incurred, that we've had to shoulder, on us being an ambulance. The county has picked up a fire truck or two that has put them in a pretty serious financial situation. So I'm saying those things all out loud so that hopefully we can get a dialogue going as well. And so I would appreciate the support of the commissioners to work on addressing this with the ISC and bringing this organization back in front of us to talk about the plan again. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
I believe Commissioner Nicolason had something to ask you.
My question is the same as him.
Nicolason?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nicholas.
I yield to Commissioner Laird. Quick question.
My quick question is, are you and your town against this as it stands now?
I'm not against it. I think that it needs to be brought in front of the organization to show the new proposal that they have, because I think it no longer falls in line with the original approval. So I'm not going to say that I'm against it at this point.
Thank you.
But what I want to be clear, they need to come to us.
People of your town think. Do
I
they
don't
want
think
it
that
there?
I don't think that they're aware of the project at all. So that's another frustration, but for another day. But I don't want to mislead anybody. They need to come. Dino Solar needs to come and talk to us about what they're doing.
Mr. Chairman and Mayor, thanks for being, both mayors, thank you for being here tonight. And I'll pick up right on that last statement. Dino Solar representatives didn't come and talk to your council, is that correct? About the change in scope of the project and what
That is correct. The first we heard about it was from the director letter that we received, forwarded by your guys's treasurer,
Admin.
attorney.
Michelle, and
It blends together.
Mayor Boyer, is that the same answer that Dino Solar didn't communicate with Barnum?
Okay, boy, that's a complicated question. That's a lot more. So they did an open house back whenever.
Well, but and then it was permitted. Okay, so they didn't ask to come at a public meeting, a town meeting, or have either of you been in contact with the city of Casper?
Not yet.
Find out what its position is. I think there's strength in numbers.
Correct.
I think that members of the commission, this commission, are concerned with the change in scope and the continued extensions, and so I know we're going to be working with you guys. Those were my questions for tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to add one note. When we look at the expenses that we've all incurred, we'd purchase an ambulance. By the time this project is completed, our ambulance will be old and will need to be replaced. And we had to purchase that, 2 years ago. So, that's another reason why they need to come to us and talk to us, but we have not heard from them at all. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So there's an open mic, and I see somebody that probably always talks to us. Public comment is open. If you wish to make a statement, please come forward. Oh, that's a first for Terry. Exactly. Come on, Terry. Well, we can't see that far. Come on up and talk. We know you got something on. Oh, okay. Sir, did you have anything? Okay. Sir? Okay. With that, I'd say public comments closed. Commissioner comment, Mr. Nicolason.
I don't have anything tonight. Thank you.
Chair Laird.
What your citizens think, Mayor Juarez, about whether they would want that. Because I'm a person that likes to hear from the citizens. I give that a lot of weight at the way I vote here. So if that's something that you can get figured out between now and then, because I'm leaning against giving them any approval, but I don't know that until I hear more information, especially from the people who will be most affected by this. Thank you.
Commissioner North.
I'll keep it short. This has been an interesting legislative session this year, to say the very least. I'm not going to go into any details because anybody that's been watching it knows the ups and downs. I am happy to see that the budget did get passed and the governor signed off on that. So that, since this was a budget session, that was kind of a top priority, and I'm glad that part got done, and we'll see what else comes out. I'm a firm believer that you never know what's going to come out of Cheyenne until after the session's over and the governor's done signing stuff. So with that, I'll leave it at that.
Commissioner Coates. I know it's a budget session, and that's where their focus needed to primarily be. I do have to say one thing, though, as far as additional legislation that they did. It's going to the governor, but the law or the bill and everything to make stalking a felony is passed. This stems from a Glenrock case, and I couldn't be more thrilled about it. What happened to those two families was just absolutely ridiculous, that somebody would receive probation. So I'm very pleased about that. With that, good night. Too late. Absolutely not. No. 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 Shut off the mic. What do you want, sir?
I appreciate you all standing up to the prison deal. I've been watching it a great deal in the news and all that, and I know you're really working hard on behalf of the people in Natrona County, and I appreciate it. That's all I got to say.
Are you gonna
For
run?
what it's
Are you
worth.
gonna run for county
Yes,
commissioner?
he's running. He's
Who
going to
knows?
run until
Who knows?
whatever.
I don't know. I don't know.